Good afternoon, everybody. It is April 29th, and welcome to my very first garden tour. As you can see, I'm in my backyard. Don't have much yard to work with, but I try to cram in as much as I possibly can in the space that I do have. This is my primary vegetable bed. I did start all my seeds indoor this year, really early because I was way too excited and probably jumped the gun a little bit. But everything is looking absolutely fantastic right now. So let's see what I have growing. All right, so on this arch, we will eventually have Kentucky Wonder green beans covering the entire arch. See, they're just now starting to climb, but this is one of my most favorite places when they are in full swing. It is just a lush tunnel of green. Oh, I love it so much. Okay, and on the outside here, before we go in any further, I have some peas growing. I have, I believe, 4 different varieties of peas. I'm trying to train them to grow up this chicken wire here that I use to stop my dogs, my chaos makers, from completely wrecking everything. Over on this side, I actually have peas that have started to produce. Nothing harvestable yet, but you can see teeny tiny little peas here. So I'm really excited about that. This is really the first year that I'm trying peas and actually giving them a real go. So we'll see how that turns out. They are all shelling peas. So once they get nice and plump, I'll be able to shell them. And over here is the magical world of squash. This year, I believe I'm growing 9 different varieties. And we have already seen production on them. This is the scallop squash. It'll be a really interesting shape. Never actually tried this version, so I'm excited to see how it differs from, your standard zucchini or crookneck squash. And I got another one of that same plant back here. And this is going to be your yellow crookneck squash. Almost ready to harvest that one at the bottom there. Further back, looks like the wind toppled these over a little bit. But these have been fantastic producers. These are long white bush squash. They make this like mint green, really light colored, long zucchini type squash that is absolutely phenomenal, and they are extremely prolific. Oh, little garden friend. Are you friend or foe? Ugh. Okay, and then over here is going to be Patterson's White, I believe. Am I right? Where's my tag? Yes, Patterson's White. And it's another type of scallop squash. We got a few growing on there. Have some smaller varieties of melon here. This one I've never tried before. It's the Anas de Marique melon. We'll see what that's like. This is going to be a honeydew. I got like one just popping out of the ground right there. I'll get that weed out of here. Oh, looks like might have another. Oh, happy birthday. All right, now we move on to our nightshades and peppers. So I'm not a huge pepper fan, but I do enjoy banana peppers. So I would like vegetables that you can snack on. So we've got a couple banana peppers going here and eggplant and some cauliflower sprouts that I didn't know what else to do with because I sowed way too many seeds and ran out of space where I initially planned on planting them. So we'll see what happens. And we've got more squash. In case you can't tell, squash are my favorite vegetable. And yes, I do deal with squash vine borers and all the pests that come along with them, but I am working on figuring out how to deal with that, trying a few different things. I will eventually put out a video how I deal with squash vine borers once they've already established themselves, unfortunately. We got a lemon squash there. Never tried that one before. I'm really excited. And then, oh, spiny little thing got me. Golden Delight zucchini. Also new to me. A lot of these seeds I got from trades, so I cannot guarantee that they're going to be true to what the parent was, but it's a fun experiment anyway. You can see I have some more cauliflower back here. Nothing has started to head up yet, but that's not surprising. I just hope it doesn't get too hot for them too soon and they bolt on me before they ever get ahead. I just harvested a bunch of lettuce today. They'll probably send up new stalks. Wow, that didn't take long. And then over here, even more squash. Got 8-ball squash here. I think that's just so cool how it's so freaking round. Now I do have 4 different types of tomatoes growing at the moment. 3 of which are golden tomatoes. I'll have to check the tags. I've got champagne bubbles. Oh, I cannot remember the other names. But they're all small varieties, cherry type varieties. And you can see that we do have some starting to produce in here. Oh, it's gonna be a good year. And then that tiny little thing is a Tidy Treats. It's a red variety. I absolutely love it, but unfortunately, first seedling I started didn't do so well, so I had to try again, so it's a little behind. And then this will be your Black Beauty zucchini. They've also been producing really well for me so far. And to move on to the other section of my garden, which I actually just built about a month ago and filled up because I didn't really want to try to put more things in the area that I have made previously. I'm very limited as to what areas get full sun. I get a lot of shade in my backyard from the fence and some of those trees and surrounding houses. It is a very close-knit neighborhood, so you gotta work with what you got. And this was the only other sunny spot in my backyard that gets enough to grow anything, really. So this is a ridge gourd. Trying to get it trained up this trellis here. This is very much like a loofah. Ridge gourds do have a much finer sponge, so it's not quite as coarse as a loofah. And we've got sweet potatoes starting over there. I have a few more slips that I'm gonna get in the ground here soon. Have some corn starting. Well, not starting, it's actually getting pretty good size. I was struggling with the corn earlier, but a good friend of mine gave me some advice on when to feed them, what level of fertilizer they need, how often they need it, which they've already greened up and grown so much since then, so very thankful for that. And then over here we have the loofah. This thing started out so slow. It didn't grow at all for a month, but it's really picked up in this last week with all this nice warm weather we've been having. This is my first time growing any kind of gourd, any kind of loofah, so we'll see how well it does and if this trellis is enough for it. My sugar baby squash, hoping to also train up this trellis. Oh, I think I see a seedling. Ooh. Oh yeah, it's a little sunflower. I did plant a bunch of sunflower seeds back here recently that get huge. I want those towering 20-foot sunflowers if I can help it. Oh, we got more coming up right here. All right, so, oh, that's bright. That's about the extent of the backyard garden. I do have limited space. I do have some trees and fruit bushes in the front that we'll go check out here. Oh, almost forgot. I have a loquat tree. And before you get on me saying it's planted too close to the fence, it is a microdwarf variety and won't get above 6 feet tall. I also plan on keeping it relatively pruned, so it should not be an issue long term. Okay, so now we are on my front porch. This is where I do a lot of my little experiments. The front yard gets all sun all day, which is extremely helpful because the backyard, I have to pick and choose where to put things. So let's go over what I have growing here right now. First off, got the American Beauty dragon fruit. I actually just took a couple cuttings off of those, sent one to a friend, and potted one up. I really need to figure out a better support system for this. I waited way too long to build a trellis for this one, and now I can't handle it. It's just too spiny to maneuver and up pot and try to build a trellis for it. So we're gonna try again with that little guy. And I also have a papaya tree here. Last year I got this around June or July. It was only 6 inches tall, and now it is very much so taller than me. Still no signs of fruit. I did have a horrible spider mite issue over the winter that really set it back, but it has really come back since then. So we might see some fruit. First time trying to grow papaya, so we'll see. Another experiment. My little mango tree, grown from a seed. I know, they're outside of my grow zone, but I like to experiment with things, so whatever happens, happens. I have a goji berry plant here. Goji berry, it's very odd berry. It tastes like a tomato and a pepper had a baby. I don't particularly like them, but dried they're a lot better, and you can add them into smoothies and dishes and kind of hide them in there. They are a superfood, so highly, highly nutritious, and mine has been struggling. I had some aphids on this earlier, and I haven't seen any since, but it just hasn't bounced back, so I'm not 100% sure that we're in the clear yet. And then over here, oh, we got a tiny little black diamond watermelon trying to sprout up there. And artichoke. I have never had luck growing an artichoke. I've tried many times, and oftentimes after about an inch or two tall, they die off for no reason. I'm trying a different variety. This was a purple variety I can't remember the name of right now, but it's doing a lot better. It actually made it into the ground before dying, so fingers crossed it keeps going well. Now we have orange tender sweet watermelon. This thing gets huge. I'm just gonna let it sprawl through my flower bed and hope my HOA doesn't notice. They didn't last year when I planted cantaloupe up here, or honeydew. No, that was honeydew. Another little sunflower there. The little pomegranate, I have no idea what the variety is. It died back over the winter. We had a really awful freeze that is not common at all to this area in zone 8B. And it killed it back to the ground. So that's all new growth within the last couple months. I'm honestly shocked it survived. There's another orange tender sweet watermelon. They're due to be fertilized soon. And then we have Dorman red raspberries here. They are slightly different than your classic red raspberries. They are technically a different genus. They taste very similar to me, maybe just a little bit more tart, but they were so prolific last year, I actually had to move them to a different area because they rapidly outgrew their space. And even now, where I moved them from, that space is still having little shoots come up of these raspberries, even though I was very careful to try to get all the roots out of the ground. They spread. They spread a lot faster than any raspberry I've ever grown. Now onto this little stick of a tree. This was a bare root that I planted over winter, so this is its first spring with me. This is a Lappin's sweet cherry, one of the few varieties that actually will fruit in South Carolina. Most cherry trees need a certain amount of freeze hours before they will produce fruit, and you know, we don't get that cold here, so most of them won't do well here. This one doesn't need that many freeze hours, so fingers crossed it is a good fit because I want some cherries. I did actually have another bare root plant or cherry tree planted here, but it died when we got 3 months straight of rain. It was also a bare root and just never had the time or chance to get established, and I had a lot of rain runoff from my roof before I got gutters installed, because that was another project, and that caused a lot in my front flower bed here to die, but I've since had gutters put in, so hopefully that won't be an issue this year, because it was a massive issue last year and it was causing water to pool at my foundation. That's not okay. So moving on, we have some of the flower beds. Now, I don't know the name of a lot of these things, so this Autumn Joy Sebum, I think. Oh, I almost forgot about this little guy. This is a star cherry. Unfortunately, died back in that cold freeze as well. I did not think to cover it. I thought it was dead, but lo and behold, it's regrowing. So really hope it does okay, because I am so excited to try a star cherry. They are cherries literally shaped like stars. And then blanket flower. Let me tell you, if you want a beautiful prolific flower, this thing's amazing. The floods did kill it last year, but I found a seed head and just stuck it in the ground and covered with dirt and ignored it, and it came back just like this. Pollinators absolutely love it. Got ice plants, echinacea or coneflower putting on a show. Love bringing those pollinators in. Another ice plant. I love this purple. It is so vibrant. And that was supposed to be citronella. That's what the seed packet said, but that is not citronella. I believe it's some type of daisy. It's still pretty regardless. And then this purple verbena. Oh, I have never seen more butterflies in my yard than I have since planting this. It didn't even fully die back from the winter, and it blooms all year round. It doesn't stop. And if we go into the very front yard, I have my Giro persimmon tree. This one also died in the Great Flood, but I got a replacement, and this one is doing absolutely fantastic and is blooming. If I can get to focus, there we go. Let's see if we have any. Oh, that one's just about spent. I did not expect this to bloom this year. It is not very big. Oh, I think they have the cutest flowers though, and they smell so good. I don't necessarily expect fruit from it this year. It is still very, very young. It's maybe 4.5 feet tall. But it seems to be doing really well. It woke up from dormancy and is thriving. And as we near the end of my very first garden tour, we take a look at our blueberries. I cannot for the life of me remember what type of blueberry this was, but it's tiny, but we do have fruit. Trying to keep the birds off it with some bird netting. That's the only major pest I have to deal with for critter-wise. We don't really have any squirrels around here, probably due to the amount of outdoor cats we have and dogs. And this one is a pink lemonade. Got some berries going on in there. Nothing's ripening on this yet. I haven't actually been able to try either of them, and I planted both of them last spring, I believe. And this is the Heritage Red Raspberry, much more common of a raspberry. But it didn't do anything last year, but they do bloom on second year canes, so this is the second year, and we are getting lots of raspberries. I'm so excited. Raspberries are by far my favorite berry. They will never make it inside. I will eat them right off the plant, no hesitation. They're doing fantastic. I was told that they don't do well in our climate. Only ones that do well in our climate are the Dornbirn red raspberries. All other varieties are better suited for a little bit cooler and drier. They are prone to a lot of root rot and issues in humid areas like this, but so far mine seem to be doing okay. Oh, I can't wait for the fruit to ripen. And last but not least, my Greenstock Strawberry Tower. I have a really terrible snail and slug issue out here. No matter what I do, I cannot get rid of them. And I garden organically, so I'm not about to put down anything toxic to try to kill them. So strawberries get grown in the Greenstock. It does elevate them off the ground, helps protect against the snails and slugs. I have had some slugs make it to like the bottom row. Nothing too bad. Some of my berries got a little bit damaged, but this thing overall has been so prolific, I really haven't had to worry about the few that get damaged, because I have plenty more where that came from. I already harvested these earlier today, so it doesn't look like anything has ripened up since then. Well, that was looking pretty ripe. Oh, needs a little more time. How about you? A little bit more time. But yeah, so I guess this will conclude my very first ever garden tour. I'm sorry if it's chaotic. This is my first time doing anything like this, but I thought it'd be a good place to start because the garden is my absolute happy place, and I look forward to this all year. All this green makes my heart happy. Thanks for coming along today. See you next time.